If students aren't listening, continually repeating yourself, whack-a-mole with misbehaviors, and going home frustrated. Ever feel like that? On occasion, that's normal. However, if it's happening all the time, you're careening toward burnout, and you have to ask yourself, how do I change what I do to rediscover the joy in my job? Now, many teachers fear that a highly structured classroom stifles student joy, but it's just not true. They won't say it, but students want order, because nobody wins in a chaotic environment. So the key is to find the right amount of structure for your students. And to do this, you need to ask yourself, what are the fewest number of procedures I need to make sure I'm enjoying the work I'm doing and my students are learning at a high level? The number will vary depending on the age and how naturally conscientious your students are of their classroom. But remember, when the structure is right, the soul takes flight. So how do I know what to proceduralize? We'll start with your frustrations. Are you constantly asking for quiet? Are you repeating your directions constantly? Are you getting overwhelmed with bathroom requests? List your frustrations on a pie chart. What are the biggest pieces? Those are the things that you need to proceduralize first. Now you might be thinking, I know I want to address them, but how do I go about it? The first thing you must do is you must teach them explicitly. Listen to Mrs. Mondragon talk about this.
It's important to invest a lot of time in your routines at the beginning of the year because that's when you have the most time to establish them. So I start at the beginning and I spend a lot of time on my routines, my expectations, doing things again, and even doing things again. And as the time goes throughout the school year, I have to spend less and less time, and those things become second nature to the students. I do understand that things happen, right? Sometimes things happen. If you're in class and you have to go, you have to go. And so when that happens, you put one finger, just one, in the air, and then you wait for a nonverbal cue for me to tell you to go to the restroom. And it'll usually look like this. You put your finger up, I'll point at you, and then I'll point at the door. Now, show me the restroom sign. Thank you. Notice that there is no Miss Martin with it. That nonverbal signal is something that I can do while I continue to teach. So if I see a pencil hanging in the air, I can just go like this and continue talking. The same with going to the restroom or going to water, so it doesn't interrupt the flow of the lessons.
There's a lot to glean, but notice how she teaches everything explicitly. Just like academic content, explain, model, practice each procedure with your students until they understand and can perform it independently. Reinforcement is key. Practice with them as many times as it takes to make sure it becomes muscle memory. Next, set your routines and procedures early and don't let them go. At the beginning of the year, students are aiming to please and they'll listen to you more readily. It's easy to start the year with the reins on and students don't know anything different, but it's incredibly difficult to put the reins on once the horse has left the barn. Additionally, the number of times I've heard teachers regretfully say, I had routine set, but I thought the kids could handle it without them, and it just went awry. Think about the areas in your work where your headaches stem. Then, imagine ways to restructure them to alleviate that. Things like entering the classroom, how you greet them, and what they do. Have an activity for them to do and that establishes the tone for learning and reinforces your leadership in the classroom from the moment they arrive. Transitions between activities can be a time vacuum. Efficient transitions hold students' focus and keep the instruction humming. Make sure students know the routines for using and returning classroom supplies to maintain order. Inform them so they know when to get these things as well, or they'll be up and down all class. And restrooms are the same way. If there's no procedure for how and when students can leave for the restroom, they'll disrupt the class as they go in and out all day long. And this one's particularly important because if you're unable to control the students entering and exiting your class, psychologically it can send a message to students that you lack control of your class in general. Getting students' attention is another vital procedure. Nothing blends your brain more than sounding like a broken record, getting kids to quiet down. Develop a signal or method to quickly and respectfully gain students' attention, allowing you to communicate effectively and maintain control without raising your voice. I've seen a teacher train his entire class to quiet down themselves completely just by quietly counting down on his fingers from 5 to 1, and the class begins to police itself. It's doable. You just have to make it muscle memory early. Have a routine for the end of class. A procedure at the end of the day, such as having a closure to see if the objective was met, helps the day end smoothly and prepares students for the next day or class that they're going to. For a moment, just imagine what your life would look like if you had all of these dialed. Take the time to implement these routines and procedures that make your work flow better. This not only makes your job easier, but also creates a space where students will thrive. And I know people have been preaching this message since chalkboards have ruled the world. But maybe the message is still here because there's something to it.